it through all the ups and downs. It ain't been perfect, but we're both right now. And I love you more after all the...
All right, so welcome to Keep the Fire Burning podcast. And we are excited for this, what we believe it will be an excellent conversation with a beautiful couple that we met at the Apostolic Church of God and their Covenant Partners event. Amen. Can you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Ulysses Scott.
I'm Latoya Scott.
And we are
Team Scott.
Team
Scott.
The Scotts.
You hear how they said that? I'm Ulysses Scott.
Right.
I'm Latoya Scott. Said it with a lot of pride. I love it. Yes. Welcome.
That's a good thing.
Thank you.
So the title of this episode, we just figured we'll put a title on it. It's called Two Marriages, One Couple. And you guys have a great story. So let's get to it. Just tell the audience about your story. How'd you guys meet? Where did you guys meet? When you guys met? Okay. So yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me first?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna start off with when I first saw her. I'm gonna take it way back. All right. So I saw her at a party, right? And I saw her and her friend, and I thought she was attractive. And I remember seeing her, but I was shy. I was running around in the streets at the same time. It was a little awkward.
Yeah.
I was still shy, but was still, doing what I was doing at the end of the day. I didn't say nothing to her that actual day. About a year or so later, I see her at school. I let her tell the part of how she came to me, but but she flirted with me first. Once again, I was still shy at the end of the day, so I needed that little knock knock type thing going. So she flirted first, and then I flirted back. It was kind of history after that. We hung out all the time. We went out to eat all the time. We stayed dating. We stayed bowling, playing pool. What else we do? We was outside a lot. We was outside all day.
So that's how it kind of all began.
Yeah. So
that was high school.
Yeah. Started off in high school. Was that my senior year?
My junior.
Yep.
Okay.
So start out hanging out, having fun, liking each other, crushing, that type of thing. So
love it.
Mm-hmm. And you about how long ago was this? If you don't mind me asking, how long ago?
26 years ago.
26. Okay. Good. So we're talking about 2000.
99, it was not, like 98, 99. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Good. Okay. And so, and you guys got married?
Yes.
Soon after. What year was that? You guys got married?
Well, how old were you when you got married first time?
23 for me.
Okay. So nice young couple, 23 or so. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a few kids by then.
Yes, we did.
That's a whole another part of a story. That'll be a part 2. So we had kids. We got married. Well, for me, once again, because I was in the streets, I was running around. I knew that if I ever got married, I needed God at the end of the day. So I want to start that off first. Like getting married, I didn't believe in myself enough, at the end of the day. So it was like, I need God, to be able to be faithful basically to my woman, so when even considering and thinking about it at the end of the day, it was a lot of prayer. God helped, at the end of the day with guiding and teaching me, on the fact that she is my wife, so even God spoke to me, when I was actually like, even when I went to her, it's like I saw it in the vision, what I'm saying? Like actually, so I was married, so it was one of those things where it was like, to me, to this day, it was meant at the end of the day, God made this happen. So
yeah,
we were young back then, but we got married early and,
life.
Then life.
Yes.
So
a lot of life happened.
you guys were in your 20s you're talking about early 20s when you got married. And at this time, and it's fine, at this time, how many children did you guys have at the time?
Well, together we had 3, and he had 2 extra children.
Okay. Okay. And so, what year was that? You guys actually?
And it's crazy, right? I want to say 2005 we got
Okay.
married.
Cool. And Ulysses, you mentioned that it was definitely God that, you believe that this is the time, this is the woman and the time to get married. Okay, good. So tell us exactly how was the wedding? How was the wedding? Or how was the, when you said I do?
Okay, we'll just start with that one.
It was only us 2, his mom and dad.
Okay.
Yeah, when it came to the wedding, it was chaos. We got together, we were young and didn't know any better, and had the children, again, young, and did not know the biblical, started going to church a little later in my life. He kind of grew up in church, but didn't understand the biblical principle of, before you even say I do, that you have to look at each other and know that you guys are doing this for you, for both of you, versus family and everyone else. So when it even came to the wedding day, even the wedding plans, my family was like, hey, we want you to do it this way. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but he wants me to do it that way. And it was just utter bad. And so what ended up happening is we got married with only his parents as witness.
So this is your new start. This is the start of your journey together as a couple, embracing new family, entering into these new family dynamics as well, and still learning each other. This is real, right? Starting to become one and learn each other as well. This is all, there's a lot happening all at once. And you already have children together too. So a lot of different things happening.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's quite, look, we definitely believe in transparency and it's quite all right because we all have a testimony
and a journey.
So, exactly. Yeah. And without tests, you don't have a testimony. So
that's right.
We definitely want to hear really the your story in terms. So you guys got married, and there were some differences in terms of family dynamic. And that's quite all right. You guys are not the first family that had differences, in that regards. And so describe the first, I guess, the first couple years of your marriage.
Yeah.
How would you describe that?
With the family, I was still, instead of cleaving to my husband and becoming one, I still had major influence from particularly my mother, my sister. Those are the two biggest influences. And I didn't do what was right by him by saying, okay, this is my husband. We're going to make our decisions in our lives. What I did was allow them to help me make the decisions with him. So that was something that, of course, I didn't know it. Of course, when you're in it, you don't see it, right? Until later on, you look toward people, other marriages, or you look, you just learn actually growing in the word to know how to actually become the wife that he should have had. So and then again, we were young. I had friends. I want to say I was the only married one. And then I decided to leave the world behind and say, I'm going to be in Jesus. So it was young, have the children, have this husband. Then I said, I'm going to live for Christ, but didn't quite know how to live for Christ back then either. So all these things are happening, and it just wasn't a conducive environment for love, I guess. It just wasn't a place. And again, instead of trying to figure it out on our own, I know I particularly brought other people in our marriage. So yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that, Latoya, because that's so real, right? Especially being a young woman, figuring out who you are, being very close to family and having those relationships. How do you separate that? Sometimes we're not taught that, and we don't even know to ask that question when we're first starting in a relationship and in marriage. So I appreciate you being very vulnerable and just sharing, like, this is something that I had to navigate and had to learn how to navigate it. So Ulysses, that's real stuff. Like, from your lens, being a new husband, how did that impact you, and how did that impact the marriage and the foundation that you all were building together?
It impacted a lot. On my side of things, my family wasn't any better or too different. I didn't go to them too much though, but they just had a stance against my wife, so I had a stance against some of my family members basically in that time frame. So it's kind of, I'm against my own family, and then her family a little bit against me, so it was one of them things where I'm in the middle. I had a lot of situations going on before that when it came to my kids. So I had a lot of drama. I had my own, just drama coming into this whole thing. With family, with the kids, and all type of things. So yeah, I had a whirlwind of things going on. I remember in that time frame of just looking like, look what you've done. Like, I'm trying to make it right, what I'm saying? But then it was still like a lot of things, left undone, untied. Like, so I was like still trying to figure it out that young at the same time. So it was kind of chaotic, and the family didn't help. We trying to find somebody to lean on. I'm in pastor's office, as often as I could be back then, just trying to figure it out, So yeah.
It almost feels like an oxymoron. So we started the conversation saying that, you felt like the Lord, this is your wife.
Yeah.
But then it's like craziness and drama. Like, what is happening right now? Like, how can this really be God's ordained will for your lives? So,
because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, did you guys, before you guys got married, did you get premarital counseling at all, or what was that like?
Yes, we did.
I think, okay, so we did have premarital counseling, and I remember some of the questions. They always say, "What happens after cloud 9?" I don't know why that right there stuck out to me. Because you're cruising. Oh, I love him. He loves me. And all that stuff.
Talk about Latoya.
But what happens when that cloud starts to dissipate, right? So those are the type of questions they asked us. They asked us, did we close all doors? I remember that particular question. And again, we're young, we're coming from background, just like worldliness, and whatnot. So those type of things. And so those are some of the things I remember from our premarital sessions.
I remember her. I remember Pastor asking her a question. He said, "Why you want to be married?" She said, "Because it was about time." I remember that. That's what I remember. For real.
That's how it is.
Like, I came up with something because of love and God, and she my rib and all this stuff, and then she talking about because it's about time. I'm like, okay.
So Latoya was keeping it real. Like, come on.
We were 3 kids in. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, so
right.
So it was like, okay, you need to, it's like, okay, you need to marry me. I'm not all these kids for you. Let's see. So I actually got accepted into college, and irony is, I went to go get birth control and found out I was pregnant with our first kid together. So it was, so again, now I'm leaving school. I'm my mom's first child that goes to college, right? Big. And now I got to come back, say I'm pregnant. She was like, go back. We'll take the kid. Yeah. I'm like, no, she has a dad, he's here. He's a father. He's actually a father to her, So my dreams were like, okay, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna be the first one to, again, I was the first one to go to college. I'm gonna be the first to graduate. I'm gonna be this, I'm gonna be that. And now I'm pregnant. Then I get pregnant again. And then now again. So now we're in this office. You want to get married? Yeah, he needs to marry me. That's what, that's what came up. Like, we need to get married.
And so the first, going back to situation with just this whole chaotic, the first, I guess, couple years, you guys are married. So take us through your mindset then, Ulysses, in terms of this was all happening and you went to seek help from the pastor. What was that like and what were you thinking now?
I truly had a lot going on in that time frame. I had family stuff going on, like with cousins, with my mother. I had a lot of situations going on. It definitely made me lean on God a lot, like praying and fasting and just trying to God how, when, where, because I didn't know nothing. I didn't have no example sitting before me. There was no man that sat before me that was able to teach me outside of pastor at that time. Like just meeting him in that time frame and really leaning on him as well, and his wife and first lady. Like going to them all the time. Like I stayed in the office for real. Stayed praying, stayed fasting, stayed trying to figure it out. But we were young. We kept on going back to reverting back to just not communicating well. Basically, that was always mainly the biggest issue, just the communication. Just how we communicated with each other.
And he was more. I brought him to the church, right, and kind of like left him there. Like I wasn't praying and fasting with him and just being a good wife. That wasn't me. I was still, it was like, I was going to the church, but I wasn't part of the church, right? It wasn't that my heart and my mind and life was still, what am I missing?
Yeah.
My friends are going out, they're having a ball, and I'm sitting here with my husband and children. So my heart wasn't toward the Lord. So how could my heart be towards our marriage, right? And that, of course, again, being in it, didn't see it, right? But now, of course, a whole score later, 20 years later, right? Now, wisdom is came. I know we're not there yet at the moment, but again, when I was in it, didn't see it. All I thought about is, oh my gosh, they're having fun. They're dressing how they want to dress. Here I am, have the children, can't wear those clothes. He's going to church. He's always he's always in the office, things like that. It was just like, we were so disconnected.
Totally. So it's a great moment because it's really interesting to hear kind of where your minds were, kind of how you were not only in your hearts, and we talk about that a lot on our show about the mindset and where your heart is. The word of the Lord tells us where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. So it's really critical to kind of assess, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? And how do I perceive? And I know that's also how sometimes the enemy comes to rob us, right? He tries to make us think what we're missing out on, rather than really recognizing what we have. And so I love that you all are just being real and just being honest. Like, this is where we were. This is what we were fighting against. And this is kind of where we were, in terms of our mindsets and heart sets. So,
yeah. So let's get to it. So you're at a point, do you get to is this a crossroads moment? Like, are you at a crossroads in terms of like, okay, what are we going to do now? Is that what, kind of like the first couple years? Would you say?
Well, we had a few hiccups, bumps in the road in the first couple of years, but it went to like that third or fourth one for real.
We had another child.
Yes.
We had another child. Still in just instability was played a part as well. And I want to say by third or fourth year, we found after our last son was born, a couple months, and we said, okay, that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done. It's been tumultuous. It was just toxic. It was just, we weren't for each other, didn't care about one another. It just wasn't good. It just wasn't good.
That's after bringing
a
baby Jordan into the world.
That's real.
It was pretty
You're
bad.
not alone in your journey. I'm sure there are other people who can relate, who will be listening and to say like, that's real. Like sometimes we keep trying, sometimes we're in this relationship and we're trying our best, but it sometimes still feels like it's just not enough. And there's a variety of reasons why that can be. So
you say communication was definitely an issue.
outside influences we heard
outside
about.
influences, instability you mentioned.
And then just your overall growth as an individual,
Yeah.
as a wife, understanding your roles, understanding how to even be married together and be one together and walk that out in your journey.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we're missing?
We didn't
In
put God
terms of
first.
Put Jesus first.
We definitely got that.
Yeah.
For me, so my struggle was more so when she was struggling with that, I just came fresh out the world. You know, so gang culture, all this different stuff going on, different women, all this different stuff, you know. So it's like I'm more focused on trying to be good, basically, in that time frame. So and not snap about things and not my mindset is like totally different in that time frame, you know, just trying to be good or trying to be righteous or trying to be holy now because whole time, now that I'm knowing I was a sinner now, you know, now that I got the word in me, it's like, I don't want to go back to doing that, you know? So while going through all of this, I'm still just trying to maintain my walk and my faith and just being a husband now and being a father still and doing it in God, you know, and not doing it in the world. It was such a crazy transition at that time frame, trying to do all of that and, you know, be married that young, you know, so.
Yeah. So about year 4, you say year 4, maybe year 5, you guys got divorced.
Separated.
Separated. Okay, yeah. Tell us about that. So you guys got separated.
we walked in that separation for a while. It was
years.
It was,
and during that separation, we actually try to reconcile
about 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Or just hook back up or got back together in some type of way, you know. So just like we stayed connected to some point, but we just couldn't connect with communication or with respect. You know, so it was just like
the same situations repeating cycle.
Yeah.
So respect, a lack of respect was the issue.
Yeah,
one of them.
Okay. Definitely one of them. Yeah, it grew into that after a while. We started looking at each other different, you know. So now the respect is kind of getting thrown out the window. It might have started halfway decent. I wouldn't even say respectful, you know. So we start off with an argument, and then it just go to a whole nother level easily. And that's how the respect kept on leaving after a while. Now we're just saying more and more things about each other, and we're being disrespectful now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like,
that's real. We were at a point where we were, you know, disrespectful toward each other, especially in the first 3-4 years, you know. So that's something that is you know, you don't go into it, you don't go at the altar and expect that to happen. It's just somehow it happens, and you don't wish that, you know, upon anyone. It's just one of those things that happens in a relationship. And so we definitely understand that. So how long were you separated for? You don't mind me us asking?
We officially divorced in 2014.
Right.
We officially divorced 2014. Then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Whatever. I'm gonna pay for it. It was like, we're done. We're done.
And what made you get to that point where it was like,
okay, so we try to reconcile. He had an additional child, and even though I said, okay, I've done things, you've done things, you just have a manifestation of what you've done. We're gonna still do this. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get through it. And him being like this, he has a good heart, right? And I always felt, and he knows this, that his priorities were just wrong, like jacked. And I'm like, okay. And even after that, I said, okay, we're gonna try again. We're gonna try again. And it came with the passing of his dad, which was my pops too, right? I love the man. He loved me as his daughter. And his dad had a widow. And again, his heart is big, right? But at that time, I felt like his heart, his mind, it wasn't on his family. And that was part of the issue I had with him, security.
Yeah.
We're your family, we're first. And I will always tell him, would these people that you're doing this for, would they put you before their own family? I knew the answer, but he never saw it. He never saw it. And then finally, with that, I'm like, okay, he's taking care of it. To me, he's taking care of his dad's widow, and not me and our children, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've accepted all this. I said, we can do this. We love each other. We can do this. We can fight for it. Then after that, I said, screw it. I'm done. We're getting divorced. And people, you know, when you see TV and you hear people, oh my gosh, you're going to get a divorce. They throw parties and they're so excited and happy.
Mm-hmm.
I initiated, because we went back and forth with, you're going to give me a divorce. I ain't giving you nothing. You know, I want a divorce. I'm not giving you anything. We did all that, right? Those back and forth throughout the years. And when it finally happened and I pulled away from the court, I had to pull into a parking lot and I cried. Even though I'm the one that said, it's done, I'm done with you. And I said, what you see on TV, what you hear about, it's not true. It's the end of something and it's traumatic. And then that's when I started learning, you know, they always say that the traumatic experiences like life, death, wedding, and funeral. I'm sorry, life, death, wedding, and divorce. I'm sorry. And I said, this was traumatic. Even though I swore I wanted it, it hurted so much. Yeah. And I don't know if did I call you? I don't think I called you. I think I was like, I just, you know, I took that in and I cried and I said, okay, I'm going to move forward now in life. So
some feelings of abandonment. It feels like that's kind of what was a turning point for you, abandonment that you felt at least. Yes. And now here's a space of sorrow. What about you, Ulysses? What was it for you that was like, this made a turning point that no more fight for you, no more fight. It's like,
I think for the most part, when the communication got so bad that we couldn't even get through to each other, you know, like there was no clarity in none of our, you know, conversations. Even sometimes after a while, when it came to the kids, it was like, you know, it just got so bad that peace, you know, it was like the loss of peace. I just wanted peace, you know, after a while, you know, it's like, all right, even though I really, you know, in my mind, I always said I would never get a divorce and, you know, and got one. So I was still fighting that too, you know, where it was just like that shame that's coming with that whole thing, even though that's why it took so long, you know, they actually even do it because it was a certain shame that was just hovering over. I didn't want to be honest with you. I wanted to try to fix it or heal it, but it was just like, couldn't get it together, you know, and just going through the years and to the point where pops wound up dying and then dealing with grief and not knowing what that even looked like or felt like because I never lost a parent, you know, so it you know, just trying to just figure things out along the way, but, you know, grieving and going through other things or grieving through the, you know, the process of a failed marriage. Like I didn't know that was grief. You know what I'm saying? That was something else I also learned, you know, later though. Like I was grieving in that, you know, before I was even grieving about my father later on, you know, so yeah, it was pretty rough back then.
Wow.
Okay. So so now you guys are going through that and but you guys decided between the divorce and now you guys reconnected. Tell us about that. That's the interest. I mean, that's a very interesting.
Yeah, how do you go from being over here with grieving?
Yeah,
it's over. Still struggling in that. Sounded like Latoya and even you, Ulysses, like you were grieving the loss of a marriage and loss of a parent too. But so how do you get from over here to wanting to rebuild again?
Some time that passed. We didn't talk. We didn't talk for years. After some point, the kids got older and they had phones. So I'm like, I don't need to talk to you, you know. And we made it that way after a while. Like the house that we are in now, she moved in it, and I would not step foot in it at all. Like I was that, you know, whatever. I don't know if it was angry or whatever it was. I'm like, I'm that done or whatever it was. But it was like we did not talk. We didn't communicate. We just dealt through the kids, or sometimes we would talk about the kids, but for the most part, we wouldn't. We stopped most communication until it came to an event coming up for the kids or something like that. And oh yeah, okay, we still went to the same church. So
oh wow, okay,
yeah, okay. I'm sorry, we left that part out. So all of this process, I mean, might not have been faithful at times, but we still going to the same church, divorced, you know, going through all these things.
Dating other
still good,
dating other people.
Yeah, dating other people.
Still going to the same church.
Still going to the same church. So now we're just single, and we're starting to go through our own individual changes, not knowing nothing about each other at this point. It's about, I don't know how many years done passed by. It was 10, 12
10?
with this divorce period. Now, I want to say in them 3 or 4 years, we really not talking. But we started going back to church. I'm doing my own. Church. Yeah, to the same church. Yes. You know,
if
same
walls
church.
could talk.
Right. You know, and I'm at some point I'm growing and I'm changing. I'm just trying to grow up. I'm trying to get myself together and get back to my walk with God. And I'm praying. I didn't believe no more I would actually be married, you know, after a while. It's like, so I kind of gave up on that. And I remember one day just praying to God and hearing the Holy Spirit say that I was worthy of marriage again. And I remember that weird feeling of thinking I didn't know that I thought I was not worthy. I didn't know that I carried that much shame, you know what I'm saying, with that whole thing.
Wow.
So I had to, you know, kind of deal with that in that time and space because of the way it hit me that day. So I'm like, okay, all right, marriage again. Wow, what would that look like? Now, this is years before it ever happened or before we ever even think to reconnect. It's just me, you know, that click came back on even talking about marriage again. Holy Spirit was dealing and working with me the entire time. So now it's back in my mind. Okay, you'll get married again one day. I just kind of just left it at that. I'm just trying to just get back to God and stay faithful with God, not thinking about none of this at the end of the day. And one day we have a conversation.
Well, before that happened, okay, I was dating, and I realized I was accepting things from a man that's not me, right? Like, why am I allowing myself to be treated like that? And I was once a wife, you know? And I was like, wait a minute. So then I made a declaration. I said, I'm a wife. I said it, and I kept saying it, and I kept on declaring it. I am someone's wife, right? And so I started. So the gentleman I was dating at the time, I was praying to God for him to be my husband, right? You know, change him this, change him that, Lord, and and whatnot. And I was like, he ain't changed. So I'm like, wait a minute, Toy, you're praying the wrong prayer. Right. So then, you always hear, write the vision, make it plain. You hear about the Sierra prayer and all that stuff. So I said, you know what, let me start praying to the Lord what I want in a husband, because I'm declaring I'm a wife, and I got to start preparing myself to be a wife as well. So I want to say, so this is like at the end of 23, I'm starting to change my life and say, you know what, let me be honest, let me get out of the lounge scenes, right? Let me, try to get closer to the Lord. And I even decided I'm going to read my Bible in its entirety. Like this was, so this is like, all this is happening at the same time, right? I'm declaring I'm a wife. I'm not going to be treated as nothing less. I am someone's wife. And I know this. I'm trying to draw closer to the Lord, and I'm going to read this word. And so I did. And March 2024, I'll never forget. So I read the book of Ruth. And that just, you hear the story about Boaz or Ruth, and I realized I wasn't walking in submission. Nothing in me. You hear submit to a man, but I'm not submitting to no man. This is how you grow up. My mom and dad were married, but that didn't show me a marriage, right? A marriage. I didn't go to church when I was younger with my parents or anything like that. And when I read the book of Ruth, it taught me femininity and submission. And when it came to the feminine part, because I was a single parent, even though he's been an involved father, I still had the children. I still worked the long hours, and that hardens you as a woman. I don't care. I'm not gonna say I don't care what people say, but it hardened me. So I had lost my femininity, and just to read the book of Ruth and how she submitted and what she did, it was just an eye opener for me. So one day after church, I went to him, and you want to tell him what I said, or you want me to tell you? I'll tell you what I said to this man. I said, hey, until I get remarried, you got to take care of me. And yeah.
Wait, can you repeat that again?
I said, until I get remarried, you have to take care of me. You are my husband.
Okay.
That's what I Why did it come out? It just came, and I said it. And what did you do, hon?
I laughed.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I did. I laughed first. Then I laughed later on when I was doing stuff, and I was in the house painting and then using screwdrivers and paintbrushes and fixing stuff. I'm like, what am I? The house that I said I would never come into. Now I'm in the house and helping out, and and now we getting along in front of the kids, and it was weird in that time frame. In all actuality, it's like even freshly in what we're in now, all of that in that time frame was like, how did we wind up here? In that time frame, like she said what she said, then I watched how we walked into it. Actually, I watched how we walked into most of the things she said that she was saying before I even came into the picture. You know what I'm saying? About being a wife, about claiming the year she would be married, like all type of stuff I didn't know nothing about.
I did.
And then I walk into this thing and I had my own prayers and I'm talking about what I want, and God is answering our prayers. And we didn't know. Like, I know God was laughing at us. I know that God has a sense of humor, for sure.
Yes.
Yep, he
Yes,
laughed
he
at us the entire time praying for a mate, not knowing that we're praying for each other. Like that was the craziest part right there. Like, oh, it's you. Okay.
And he's right. Back in December 2023, I was with my cousin, my mom, and my sister. And I said, well, I had said I was going to be married at 24. So they were like, oh, 24. I said, well, 24 is too soon. Okay. I said, fine. I'll be married in 2025. And they're going to watch this podcast. And my mom, and they laughed at me. They said, you ain't got no man. I said, I'm going to be married in 2025. And fast forward to that, yeah, we did get married in 2025. But he said he was in my house painting and everything. And I don't know if you watch Girlfriends, always remind me when Maya wants Jabari room painted. He was painting and everything. But what he doesn't know is, or maybe he does know, I was just being more softer and saying, hey, I need you to do this. I need you. You knew it.
I definitely knew.
So
she asked.
Instead of being strong, I'm like, you know what? No, let me step back. I need you. And I'm not a man, but I've read some things when it's innate for a man to want to be needed, right? And whatnot. And I step back and again, just say, you know what? Let me get these calluses off my hands and let him be the man that he is and ask him for the help and whatnot. And just felt like I was just treating him a little better, and so, yeah, that's how you got to painting in the house.
So how was you were doing this, and you mentioned that your husband has a big heart, so you kind of, I guess, appealing to his heart.
Yes.
At that time.
Yes. And you know what? Okay, one of the things in our arguments, he always tell me, you know how to talk. You just choose not to talk to me right? And so I said, you know what? Let me change the way I speak to him. Let me change what used to send me off, or what I would say. I had to take those seconds and say, okay, say it this way, because he's me knowing him. It's the way you speak to him. If you say anything out of pocket, he shuts down. And even if you're right, it was your tone, Toya.
I can relate. I got one of those too, Latoya. It's real.
Absolutely.
So I know that about him. So at first I would be like, I know how to, back in the day, Toya know how to press each and every button. So if you know how to press a button, you know how to make that thing work too. So that's what I did. I started speaking to him in the tone that he wanted and asking nicely and all those things. And just like he said, we were praying, and everything I prayed for in a husband, to be family oriented. Well, first and foremost, God, because finally, I was saying God needs to be first. I finally learned that when I get married again, God has to be the front and center. I cannot be with an unequally yoked person. And what the world tells us about yoke is, does he have a car? You got to have a car. He got a house. You got to have a good job. That is not what the Bible says. The Bible says yoke is you believing in the Lord together, you serving the same God. And that, again, me reading the word and not reading the word by myself. I actually followed a Bible plan. I'm going to throw it out there. It's the Tarly Cabo, the Bible recap. It's awesome because every day you read scriptures and she breaks it down and you talk and then she discusses it. And it's just awesome. And again, me getting in my word and reading the word and growing closer relationship to God actually grew Latoya as a woman, as a mom, sister, cousin, because those are my prayers as well, right? To be a better Latoya, daughter, sister, cousin, mom, auntie, friend, peer, manager, whatever. So me reading and getting into the word of God is actually what changed me. So yeah.
This is really good. So I love it because instead of a lot of, well, there are people, and you've heard it and you've probably witnessed it, where we tend to we see something wrong, we tend to want to fix that. You see something wrong in a person, you tend to want to fix it. Yeah. Or they see something wrong in you, they tend to want to fix it. And so it sounds to me that you guys will have to work on each other individually.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so when did you finally date again?
So after painting and doing light bulbs and landscaping in the backyard.
Right.
Well, actually, okay. Well, I got to tell this part right here. So for her birthday was coming up. We were still trying to figure things out. And when I was like, you know what? Even though she kind of fighting me a little bit on this, because I didn't say that part of how she was playing hard to get, because it wasn't no just easy little walk in the park. It wasn't no easy.
Oh, do tell.
It was courting. I courted her. This wasn't a just, hey, you gonna be my wife again? No, I had to court her at the end of the day. Because she talking about this other man. I don't know what she was talking about. Once I figured it out, it was like, oh, I am the man. I just decided to shore it, basically. Like, no, I'm gonna just court her. I learned over time, how to be better, how to be a little more gentle, because once again, trying to, in the streets, thugging and all that. You talk with an edge, you talk at people, you don't, so I had to learn how to do things a little different. So I'm like, okay, I'm a quarter, I'm a shore, so found out she wasn't doing nothing for her birthday. Just to let everybody know, I'm birthday boo. So, for the podcast to get some later. Because in that time frame, nobody knew, what we were doing in that time frame. We were trying to still figure it out. And I decided to say, I'm gonna take her out and see then if we have whatever type of flame again. Not nothing sexual or nothing like that, but just on the romantic side, the love side, the friendship side, any of it, because we were growing a bond in that time frame. We were definitely growing, we were talking more, we were communicating more, we were on the phone all type of hours. That's the part to me that got better. At the end of the day, it was the communication that came back first and just led everything else to keep going over time, because we kept talking. Then we started planning and talking. And then eventually we actually wound up on the same journey and road together, to do this. So God definitely planned this out this way. Like, restoration is a real thing. He established us again, so.
The scripture that comes to mind for me is he makes all things beautiful in its time. Yes. And it sounds like the original vision that he showed you. He showed you she was your wife. You just didn't realize the journey that you all were going to be on together. And so God doesn't always show us all those details, because that's scary. And we probably run like, I don't know what. I know I would. There are things that we went through in our own personal journey that we didn't know was going to be a part of our journey when we said I do, but it was. But to God be the glory of where you are today. And that's what's awesome. And it's for a purpose. It's for a bigger purpose. So I love that you all brought out how God was working on each of you individually. Yes. And then your hearts begin to slowly be drawn together. And you both were also being softened in your hearts at the same time. Yes. So you've said that before about, what it means to keep a soft heart toward your spouse. So I love that there was just something changing. That's the thing we can't always articulate or describe, but there's that change. There's that transformation. There's that evolution that happens in you individually. And then God slowly knits you back together as well.
Right. Right. This is awesome. And what I'm curious, not that this really does matter, not that it matters, but when your family found out, what was the conversation like again?
Okay, I can start. Because now I'm a big girl, right? It's 20 years later. I'm a big girl, and I declared it so. Like, you know what? I started defending him one day at church. I don't want to go through all the minute of it, but and I'm like, I told my friends, I'm like, you know what? After hiding him like he was my birthday boot, nobody knew who he was. And I finally said, okay, guys, this is it. They were like, what? And I'm bracing for but they said, you know what, guys, I got mostly, you guys are older now. You grew, you're two different people, you've learned, and let's see where it goes. So mostly, like, for my friends was like, you know what, you guys do go
Right.
forth and see where it takes you. Family's another.
Yeah. I mean, still her people are still the bigger supporters at the end of the day, if I can be honest.
Right.
Even when it comes to a family, for the few that, whatever, but most of them actually it's all love. It's always my side that's a little funny, to be honest with you. My side is a little funny. A good portion of them though love her. My father's whole side loves Latoya at the end of the day. It just is what it is. She's growing with the other side of my family though, for sure. I will say that. Yeah, so it's gonna get better.
Yes.
Over time. So and our children. That was the rougher part, because we knew we knew that was gonna be a bit of a challenge to just talk to them about it.
We knew, so it might be a challenge to talk to them, but I didn't expect the kickback, right? I'm thinking, this y'all daddy.
Yeah. I expect
it's easy. Oh, this is easy. Everybody was like, it's easier to be with the man that you have the children. Well, this is their dad. This is gonna be, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? No.
Right.
No. We have 4 children, live in a house with about 2 or 3 different aspects or perspective on it and whatnot. So you want to take it? Our eldest, she's this big heart and cry tears of joy and whatnot. Our first son is like, okay, do y'all thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Second son was different, because that's the one. Second son was the son that when Mother's Day came around, when my birthday came around, when I needed things done, that's the son that took care of mama, right? That's the son that did for me. And I could kind of like depend on where, hey, can you go pick up your brother? Hey, can you go get this? And he was willing and he just loves his mom. And now I'm saying, hey, getting back with, because again, this is your dad,
Right.
and it was rough. We've only been married for a couple months, but we felt it, right? It's gotten better as time go on. Much better. Matter of fact, I think he just threw me to the side now, his girlfriend. So, but those first couple months was really rough, and you could feel the tension between them two. And now my baby, who has been so good to me, I gotta like back up and let him and his dad figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So that's hard, because that's and everybody say, that's my secret. They say that's my secret favorite, but that's my baby boy. That's my boy. He does for me, and now I got to say, no, I now have a husband. Again, he's your dad, but he's the man in my life, right? He's gonna be the one to do what you did, and I hope my son, he can hear us too. I'm always grateful for what he's done, but so you should never have your child as doing partner things, right? It's not in proper alignment, right?
Yeah.
And again, I never thought I would be that mom, because I've seen it, right? You'd be like, this woman think that's her man, and not realizing I was doing that with my own son, right? Making not looking at any girls he dated like, oh, no, but depending on him, it was just out of order. Right. So
Gotcha.
had to learn that and all that. And our baby boy, I think he's the most happiest, like, people, if you see pictures of him, he just got this big old smile. And the thing about it was funny is that when we separated, he was a baby. So I don't even, and I guess maybe in him, just it's like this, what is it, innocent thing to want to see your parents together when it comes to him. So we see joy on his face, and he's our little road dog. He go everywhere with us. Like he's okay to be with mom and dad, which is like, wow, so
right.
Yeah. So it was different, but again, as a unit, we're growing, right? Stronger every day. And I feel like the whole house, and I know the whole house feels it as well. So yeah.
Good. So other than that, growing now, what are some other things that's different this time around than the first time?
For me first, the communication, just like prayer. We didn't pray together. We were first married. I don't think we ever prayed together, like for no reason. And that's crazy, actually. When you're really thinking about it, going to church all that time and not at all, not reading the word together. We read the word together. Now we pray together. We war together. We spiritually war together. I guess it's like we get people saved together. We minister together. So it's the communication part, but it's also the unity at the same time. Right? That bond is stronger than it's ever been, for sure. We definitely, building and steady edifying on that, just build on top of that. So yeah.
This is good. Yeah.
I want to say, like you said, God, again, me coming in the mindset that I need to, be obedient to the Lord, just do what the word says, and forgiving faster, right? Those type of things. Not saying everything that comes to my mind, because I have a mouth, right? Well, I had a mouth, a bad mouth, So taking that time to say, you know what, is it worth it? Is it bigger, me being right, is it bigger than, the whole picture, knowing when to say something and how, especially with him, right? How to say it, how to do it with love, right? Not with judgment, but to speak to him in love and let him know that I appreciate him and whatnot, and just being more grateful, right? Because again, when I was younger, I would look at others and, and as you get older, you see the beginning of the thing, but then you're like, well, what about the end? Because the beginning can be great, but it's that race. What happens in the end? And again, just growing, maturing individually and being able to now come to him as a wife and a submissive wife, right? Again, because when we hear about submissive, they think you're bowing down and when you see on TV, the woman is cutting his toenails with her mouth. It's just crazy things you see, right? And not realizing, no, he's the head. No matter what's happening, right? No matter what, he's the head of the household. Being with him, being one, being a unit against those kids, y'all can't, because they used to play us against each other, right? And we would fall for it.
They played her. They didn't play me. I knew what was going on. But yeah.
I was naive, So now, now we're a unit. You can't say one thing to one of us and say the other, and then we're going and bickering back and forth. We're not doing that anymore. So I want to say the difference is God, and yes. I had to have God for myself before I can have God for us, right? Before I can say, okay, now that I'm in the Word, and our marriage can be in the Word again. Praying for a godly man first and foremost before I pray for anything else, and so he's just making the relationship with him is making all the difference, and it was just a heart. My heart, it's a heart turn towards the Lord is making a difference in our relationship. That's Latoya. So yeah.
This is phenomenal. I know you guys had a really good story. And the simple fact is you got together just like any other couple does. And you had some difficult times, just like in many other couples, every couple. And you guys got eventually separated, got divorced, but then you reconnected after, I guess, the father did a little heart surgery on both, and then now you're back together. It sounds like one of the number one things is the heart, having God in the marriage. Also, the communication is very important. Now, there are detractors, and we kind of want to, shut the mouths of the detractors. So having God in your marriage this time around, what are some things you're doing differently now? You say you pray together, which is great. What are some things you're doing differently now to maintain that environment, that good environment, that the love that you guys have with each other, and the forever love that you guys will have?
One of the things she just said last, I want to say, is forgiving quicker. Forgiving, having some conversations a little bit sooner versus like holding on to them and letting it fester for a while, like getting straight to it, presenting the conversations to each other way better than we used to, because I don't know what we were doing back then. Like when I really think about the past now, it's like, what were we doing? But we were doing where we came from, our environments basically. So the way we present stuff to each other, the way we talk to each other, man, we do everything different now. The way we love on each other, the way.
Don't be modest. You're a big romantic. He's awesome.
I mean, yeah.
That's great.
He is just so romantic, and just I feel so loved, like overwhelming. This was our first Valentine's Day as Mrs. Scott and Mr. Scott again, and he went all out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just feeling loved, just and we did do premarital counseling again with our bishop and pastor, and one of the things we talked about was love language. And so I said, okay, now that I know his love language, let me do what he likes, right? Because you could do something and the person like, okay, thanks, but that's not what speaks to their heart, right? So now I know what speaks to his heart. So I try to do intentional. I am more intentional, and he is more intentional towards me, right? So that's what it is. I think about people have goals and for business and for their lives, but you also have to have those in marriage. So you have to walk with intention. And now we are walking with intention to love one another, to care for one another, to be there for one another, and not repeat what we did in the past. So yeah, we're walking with intention.
Great. Yeah, this is great. This is great. What message do you guys have for other couples?
Okay, so I got one. You guys said make a mission statement, right? Which I love, right? And ours was, I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but it was, we serve a God of the second chance.
Oh yeah.
We're not gonna waste ours. Right? And that's not only in marriage, right? Right. As long as you're breathing and you have the breath of God in you, the grace of God is here, you can change your circumstance. Right? You could change your surrounding as long as because you can always reach out to God and say, God, help us. So when we came up with the mission statement, and I was like, man, that's good. I felt like a tap on my back, So, and of course, again, it's not all about me, it's about us. And he's like, and don't waste it. And I said, yes, babe, let me put that in there. We're not gonna waste it. So I believe that so one thing I always tell them, like, we hear, they're like, oh my gosh, to live by the Bible is so hard, but God he made life so simple. If we actually follow the words, like it says, leave your family forsake all others, cling and become one. Life would have been so much easier.
Yes.
If we would have put him first, life would have been so much easier. So to other couples, put God first and center. Yes. I swear. It works.
Run to God.
Yes. Run to God.
Always.
It works. Yes. Ma'am, you said when your husband do something wrong, what you do? Do you talk about him or you pray for him? And I have taken that, So I pray instead of nagging and you did this, that. No, I'm going to pray for you. Things, just I keep him lifted in prayer, and he keeps me lifted in prayer. And like, he's my go-to, like, I need prayer. And he's ready. He's ready. But again, that's because we're putting God first and foremost.
Right.
So to any couple out there, you put God first and actually follow the word and give your heart unto God, like you said, a circumcised heart. Have the Lord do that surgery on you. You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. Being willing and knowing it's work, right? Because we say, oh, I'm saved, but we don't do anything to it. Same thing for the marriage. You're married, yeah, but you still got to work it, right? You got to work the word. You got to work your marriage, work your salvation. Got to work. Everything takes work, because once you stop working, what happens? What happens naturally to your muscle, right? The dystrophy. You lose strength. So everything has to be worked. And I know for me, I know that we didn't do that work in the first marriage. And we're willing, we're participating, we're intentional. We are working our marriage, working the word of the Lord in our lives and all that, and just working and being there for one another.
That's great. That's great.
We're so glad that you are working it and committed to the work, because we believe the half has not been told. And this is truly just the beginning. You thought it was the beginning years ago, but this is really just the beginning. So we're so grateful that you all joined us on this episode. This has been such a rich time of sharing and listening and learning and gleaning. And you just never know who's out there who may have a similar path or journey or can learn from your story. So we thank you, both Ulysses and Latoya, for sharing with us on this episode. So make sure you all like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, please like, comment, and subscribe. Before we leave, though, it's a lot of nuggets that you guys shared, a lot of great things. Prayer, and having prayer with each other is essential. Having prayer with each other is essential, and especially the wife praying for her husband. Absolutely. Praying for her husband, because that does so many great things for the husband. That lifts, because we carry a lot, lifts a lot off of the husband. When he hears his wife praying for him, that does so many great things mentally, spiritually, just so many things. And it's just an awesome. And to just keep it up, share that, continue to share it. Don't be ashamed about it. You know what I'm saying? Let people know, hey, pray for your husband, pray for your husband. All of that is wonderful. So we definitely appreciate it's now it's a little thunderstorm. Okay, we definitely appreciate we really appreciate, my gosh, we really appreciate you all's time and the things that you guys shared. Yes. Especially you hit on submission, and to just, kind of clear up some things when it came to submission. It's just awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. So, we appreciate, we support you guys, and we just love you guys. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.